He's Chase Sr. I'm Harrison Graham. Any given Thursday by Chat Sports. We go live every Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. We're wrapping up today's show with a little college football talk. The 2021 season is in the books as the Georgia Bulldogs slayed their demons and beat the Alabama Crimson Tide 33-18 in a rematch in the national championship game. Great story for Kirby Smart. Great story for Stetson Bennett, the former walk-on quarterback who was able to get it done there. Bama loses in the title game, but Chase, we all know that they're going to be back. This was a better game than the score would indicate. A little boring at times, but at least we got a pretty decent national title game.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia goes on to win 33-18, but a lot of those points piled on late, especially that epic pick six in which Kirby Smart showed the ups, man. He was telling the defender to go down, but he got up really high there.
That's adrenaline.
So shout out to him and that athleticism, and shout out to adrenaline. Hopefully we can all feel that as we get a little bit older. But honestly, good for Georgia. They slayed their demons. They knocked down the cobwebs in the closet that existed for a long, long time going up against Alabama. They've had so many playoff shortcomings over time and so many heartbreaking losses, whether it be in national championship games or in the SEC championship game. I thought Alabama was going to win. I took them on the money line. I like the value there, but I'm glad Georgia won because it's great for college football.
And I think it's interesting heading into the offseason and then before next season. Who should be number one heading into 2022? Get your votes in. We'll have our way too early top 25 rankings coming up in just a minute, but we'll make this the pin comment on today's video. Who should be number one entering the 2022 college football season? Go ahead and get your votes in. Way too early, top 25 coming at you. USC. So I kind of threw them in there as a, big name program. You got Lincoln Riley out, but really, Chase, the main reason I put them in there, the ultimate wild card. Caleb Williams. And depending on when you're watching this, maybe he's made a decision. The former Oklahoma quarterback, Lincoln Riley's prized recruit in Norman from just a year ago, who obviously balled out as a freshman. A lot of people think he'll end up at Southern Cal. If he ends up there, they might become favorites in the Pac-12.
No question about it. That's really the big domino to fall, not just for USC, but really the entire college football landscape. Now, give Lincoln Riley a couple of recruiting classes to really bring USC back to that top 5 prominence. But just because of his offensive mind alone, just because of his fingerprints being on the offensive side of the ball and that program, expect USC to compete for the Pac-12 in a conference that's wide open after Mario Cristobal leaves for Oregon. You're not really sure what UCLA is going to be. A little bit sketched out with their quarterback situation. USC in the top 25, book it, especially if they get Caleb.
Caleb Williams can help fast-track a rebuild.
Yes,
he really can.
Transfer portal as well.
You know who could use Caleb Williams? Iowa. 24. Look, to win 10 games, nice job by Kirk Ferentz, but until they have a quarterback, I refuse to take them seriously. 23, the Kentucky Wildcats. Mark Stoops continuing to do a great job there. Hey, they're becoming a football school, man, so good for them. We got them at 23. Houston at 22. I think this could potentially, Chase, be the top group of 5 team heading into next year. Dana Holgorsen had Houston playing really well this year. Clayton Tune, their quarterback, is back. And with Cincinnati losing Desmond Ridder and some NFL players on defense, maybe the Cougars are the team coming out of the group of 5.
Yeah, look, and they were right there all year with Cincinnati in the American Athletic Conference. And now, do they have the better team going into next year than Cincinnati?
Maybe.
Potentially.
21, how about South Carolina? And bit of a projection here, but if Spencer Rattler can get his confidence back, you team him back with the former coach he knew in Norman and Shane Beamer. He had his buddy Austin Stogner, I believe, is joining him as well at South Carolina. And the Gamecocks played pretty well last year, considering they played like 4 quarterbacks, including a grad assistant.
Yeah.
So
everybody thought they were going to be bottom of the SEC.
7-6
wins,
man.
For them to go 7-6,
and they beat North Carolina in the bowl game, who was a preseason top 10 team. So we'll see what happens there. If you love college football, you got to subscribe. The best coverage on YouTube. I think in the months of November and December, no one had better college football videos than we do. I truly believe that. And we're trying to make this a year-long college channel. If we continue to get subs from these college football videos, trust me, Chase and I will find ways to do videos for you guys throughout the offseason. So go ahead and subscribe, and hey, it'll be fall before you know it. Top 20, Ole Miss at 20. Could they sweep into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes? That would be clutch. They got my boy Zach Evans from TCU, former 5-star running back. Question here is quarterback.
Quarterback. That's really what it comes down to. You lose Matt Corral to the NFL level, and without him in the Sugar Bowl,
yes.
They just weren't the same team. So that's a big question, but I have trust in Lane Kiffin. He can figure it out.
At number 19, North Carolina State quietly had a really nice year. Dave Dorn doing a good job there. Could be an ACC dark horse. Arkansas at number 18. If KJ Jefferson continues to progress like he did in the second half of the year, Chase, you and I were extremely impressed with him. I mean, think about the Georgia game where he basically couldn't complete a pass.
They couldn't get past midfield.
And then Bama late in the year where he's going toe-for-toe with Bryce Young almost. You continue to build off that if you're Arkansas. You may have a sleeper Heisman candidate potentially. Yeah. Maybe that's a bit of a reach, but Sam Pittman doing a great job there. Tough SEC West, we know that, but Arkansas, 9-win season, I think they're going to be in the top 20. Michigan State at number 17. Peyton Thorne, their quarterback, got better and better. You obviously lose Kenneth Walker, but I like what Mel Tucker's doing there with that culture. I think they could be a team to watch out for in the Big Ten. And then how about Cincinnati? Where do they fit into all this, Chase? You lose Desmond Ridder. I think Luke Fickell will be back there for another year. I mean, where else is he going to go? Maybe if Harbaugh leaves Michigan, that changes things. But as long as Fickell's there, top 15, top 20, I mean.
Yeah, this late in the cycle, I don't envision him leaving, nor do I see why he would. And just on coaching alone, player development, Cincinnati has to be a player.
And if he wants to stay, they're a year away from being a Power 5 program because they're going into the Big 12. Who's going to be a dark horse team next year? I think there's some interesting ones to watch out for that we just mentioned. I think South Carolina could fit that bill. I mean, you think about Georgia losing some pieces. Could they be a sneaky SEC East contender? Still a talent gap between them and Georgia, but I think it's possible if Rattler plays well, they at least leapfrog Florida in the SEC East. You got a dark horse? Penn State
horse team next year.
We didn't even have him on our top 25 here.
Yeah, they have to be just because of recruiting alone. One of the top recruiting classes in the country. Have to figure out quarterback though. I wouldn't move forward with Sean Clifford. I think you got to go with one of the young guys.
Could USC with Caleb Williams be a sneaky playoff team just because the Pac-12 isn't great?
Just because of the Pac-12. Win the Pac-12, Lincoln Riley effect. Let's say you lose one game. USC will be in the mix.
We'll see. BYU, maybe they're a dark horse. Maybe they're the team that, is considered a group of 5 program that could run the table. We'll see what happens. Kalani Sitake, one of the better coaches in the country. Good for BYU, able to retain him. At number 14, Dave Clawson in Wake Forest coming off a great year. Sam Hartman is back for another season at quarterback.
That's big for them.
That's big. He had a monster season, clearly the best in school history at that position. How about Wisconsin? Okay, so 13, this feels like they could win the Big Ten West, or they're like 7-5 again. I don't know how it's going to go. Does Graham Mertz kind of build off a strong second half of the season, or is he the guy we saw early in the year?
Why can't he carry this momentum
on?
Earlier on in the year, we're like, man, he just doesn't look good. But for him to figure it out, it's a really good sign as a former highly touted recruit to figure it out. Hopefully he just has that confidence going. I think that's the biggest thing for him was the lack of confidence.
And we know they'll be able to run the football, play defense. I'm drawing a blank, but their running back literally was 17 years old this year, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
At number 12, Oklahoma. I don't know what to really do with them. It looks like Caleb Williams is going to be gone, so Dylan Gabriel is going to start, and he can certainly lead them to a Big 12 championship, but this kind of feels like a transition year for Oklahoma. I would not be shocked at all if they did not win the Big 12 for a second season in a row.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they have everything there, and I think Brent Venables is going to be able to do a good job to bring in Jeff Lebby as OC. That's going to really help them offensively on top of Venables being the defensive mind. And defensive mind in the Big 12, I kind of like the pivot there for Oklahoma.
Oregon at number 11. You move on from Anthony Brown. I think you could actually end up upgrading there, to be honest. The second half of the year, he was not good at all. We'll see what I'm excited to see what Dan Lanning does with that program. Kind of similar, right? They go defense now.
Especially coming off the Natty.
I mean, you would think that would help in recruiting for the 2023 class, so should be fascinating. BetUS is the place to go bet on some NFL playoff games for you football fans. College football's done, but you can still go bet on the NFL playoffs. Chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code CHAT125. That's going to get you a 125% deposit bonus. Go bet on the NFL playoffs. All right, top 10. Baylor, man. Dave Aranda, They're certainly losing some guys. They had a lot of seniors on that team that got an extra year due to COVID. But if they can, figure out, is Bohannon the quarterback or is it the kid that played in the Big 12 title game that played pretty well?
Yep.
Figure that out. The defense is going to be strong, and Big 12 is wide open once again.
So wide open. And Aranda, what a job he's done taking over for Matt Rule. Matt Rule, man, grass ain't always greener on the other side. I think he's going to be able to get the Panthers back, but point here being Aranda's temperament, his leadership, his confidence, his swagger, his coaching ability, top notch.
Oklahoma State, stay on topic here. You look at Mike Gundy, the consistency there. He's still, in the big games, he doesn't win a ton of them, but they're going to be in the mix once again in the Big 12. Spencer Sanders back for another year at quarterback. How about Clemson? I mean, look, worst year they've had in about a decade. They still win 10 games.
10 games, man.
If it's DJU, Cade Klubnik, I don't really care. If the quarterback gets back to playing at a high level at Clemson, they're going to run through the ACC, I think.
It's
right?
crazy that in a down year, Dabo still finds a way to win 10 games. And it was ugly early. But if you remember, week 1, it was a knock 'em out, drag 'em out type of matchup against Georgia. And it was a close game.
10-3.
Georgia goes on to win the national championship game. So while it didn't look pretty at times for Clemson, mostly because of what they did or didn't do offensively, still won 10.
Yeah, if they can get the quarterback situation figured out, they should be fine. Number 7, Michigan. Obviously the big talking point. Well, 2 big talking points. Jim Harbaugh, is he going to be there? And quarterback, is it going to be Cade McNamara, J.J. McCarthy? I'm giving McCarthy a real opportunity if I'm Michigan in spring ball into summer camp to earn that starting job. I think the upside is there. I think we saw against Georgia that, McNamara's limitations really, really hurt you in those big-time matchups. And also, go check out Bossman Yode's youtube.com/Michigan TV. He'll have you guys covered all off-season long with the Michigan Wolverines, the latest going on over there. All right, number 6, Notre Dame. Fascinated to see what happens with this program under this new coaching regime.
Yeah, me too. And you kind of got a glimpse of it in that bowl game, the Fiesta Bowl, correct?
And look, I said Gundy doesn't win the big ones. That was a big one.
That's
a big win for Oklahoma State.
How about Notre Dame being like 0-6 in their last 6 bowl games or something along those lines?
I think they've lost 10. They've lost 10 New Year's Six/BCS games in a row.
That's brutal.
Got to turn that around.
And Marcus Freeman, defensive guy, allowed Oklahoma State to really storm back after getting that early lead.
Yeah, so we'll see what the Fighting Irish look like next year. Top 5 coming up. Interesting question here. Will Clemson be a college football playoff contender next year? Yes or no?
In the ACC?
Yeah, is Wake going to be – they beat Wake late in the year, didn't they? They did.
Yeah.
And Clemson should be better this year.
Yep.
So, it's still – the Clemson still runs the ACC. I don't care what happened in 2021. Get your votes in, yes or no. Top 5, Utah. Dude,
Juicy. Kyle Whittingham.
I wish Utah and USC were on opposite halves in the Pac-12 because I think if Caleb Williams goes to USC, that's a 2-team conference next year. Maybe Oregon surprises, but I think it's kind of a transition year. Cam Rising at quarterback played really well. They're physical. They run the football. We know they played defense. I think the Utes are going to be a force to be reckoned with, as are Texas A&M. Listen, they still got to prove it in the SEC, but you know what? When you bring in the talent that they have, there's no reason why they can't win 10 or 11 games.
No reason why. And it's going to come down to another matchup against Alabama. And it's going to come down to some of the tough matchups in that SEC. The roster is there. The coach is there.
The
talent is at the disposal of the Aggies. Got to take advantage.
Number 3, Georgia. We'll pencil them in there. And I think the main reason why is who's the quarterback? Is it JT Daniels? Does he stay and play there? Does he transfer? Does he weirdly declare pro and say, I'm just going to take my chances at the draft? I think there's a lot of unknown there with the Georgia Bulldogs at quarterback, but we know the rest of the roster is going to be in good shape.
Yeah, they just had a great recruiting class. They were 1 to 3 within the entire recruiting period. Plenty of talent. And now the coaching staff's great. Now, what do you do to replace Lanning at D.C.?
Will Muschamp promotion, I'm sure.
Will Muschamp promotion, and Kirby Smart was the one who was calling the plays anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Ohio State, number 2. I think top 3 are a clear top
Stroud,
3.
Look out.
Dude, Jaxon, Smith-Njigba. You get a full offseason of those two getting reps. I think both those guys could be high. This could be a Mac Jones, Devontae Smith situation where both are finalists. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great player. Hopefully Julian Fleming takes that step. Ohio State's offense will probably be the best in the country next year, realistically. But maybe Bryce Young and Alabama have something to say about that. We gave Bama the slight edge as our way to early preseason number 1. You've got the Heisman finalist, Bryce Young. He's going to be, pretty
Insane.
Unstoppable next year.
And
right?
it's funny, I think Bill O'Brien's going to go to the NFL level. He's going to end up getting one of these head coaching jobs potentially. No problem for Nick Saban.
He'll find
it's a
somebody.
revolving door at the coordinator spots, and he finds some magician to come in.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So who's going to win the Natty next year? Who's going to do it? Who is going to win the national championship? I might go Ohio State, man. I think C.J. Stroud
that defense, right?
And Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I think the addition of Jim Knowles as defensive coordinator is going to make a big impact. I mean, you look at what he did with Oklahoma State. Pretty phenomenal. Who's going to win it all? Let us know in the comments.